How do you manage the problems within your life? Do you catch yourself trying to find a right answer when deep down you know it's not that simple? Whether you're choosing between work or life, personal growth or accepting who you are, or maybe in choosing between discipline and remaining as free as possible to do what you want. These are what's known as polarities, and not everything has a clear either or answer. Learning to balance and manage polarities is a key aspect to personal mastery. So in today's video, you're going to learn 1, what is polarity management? You're going to learn the problems with either or thinking, and most importantly, we're going to highlight the power of using and. The third part of today's video is about balancing the necessary opposites in life. And the fourth part of today's video is how to use polarity management now within your life. I'm going to talk you through, guide you through a clear exercise for you to use right away with something that's pressing within your mind. There's also a workbook PDF for you to use that you can download below. Just follow the link and you can get it right away. If you're new to my videos, please click the subscribe button and click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I release new content. So when you've done that, let's dive straight in. I'm Richard Hussaini, coach, speaker, and here to support you along your path to personal mastery. And personal mastery is about the inner work for outer action. On to part 1 of today's video. What is polarity management? Polarity management was first introduced by Barry Johnson in 1975. And the fundamental question to polarity management is this a problem to solve or is this a problem to manage? In short, it's a tool for identifying and managing problems that don't have a simple solution. These are problems or challenges that are interrelated and ongoing. They don't have a finite end. They don't have a finite choice. Now that tool I just mentioned is called a polarity map. And this is what I'm going to teach you today. It's a really simple and very, very powerful way to help you look at the problems within your life and manage them effectively. It really can be used in all aspects of life, from managing the complications of relationships to working and managing your work-life balance. Professionally, polarity management has been used prominently as an organizational management tool, and that's great. But where I'm interested in using this tool is in all areas of your life. It's highly valuable and applicable to so many areas which I'm going to introduce you to, and hopefully you'll see by the end of this video. For individuals, for families, for communities, and for countries, literally on a wider humanity level. As just one example, more and more of us are being called to look past skin color and cultural norms and to see humanity that binds us. This is absolutely essential for our survival and prosperity. At the same time, it's equally true that many of us want to protect our traditions and cultural identities. We fear that focusing on a common humanity, we will lose those qualities and our communities that give us our sense of identity. When we allow ourselves to see the truth in opposites, we open ourselves to possibilities and beauty. And this is the essence of polarity management. On to part 2 of today's video. The problems with either or thinking and the power of and. There are many estimates that around 90% of the problems we're asked to solve in our formal education is around single correct answers. So for example, who was the first president of America? Or with multiple independent answers. So how do you get to the top of a mountain? It's of course important to gain this type of knowledge, but this type of identification and problem solving only applies to a small subset of problems that we face in life. Polarities, on the other hand, have 2 or more right answers that are interdependent. So when we move away from either or thinking and introduce the word and to our problems, we get to complement the traditional problem-solving approach. So to give you an example, when we teach our children how to share, we're teaching them how to manage a polarity. In a relationship, we need to pay attention to our own needs and to our partner's needs. This is not one or the other, it's something that we need to manage. When we experience something that we perceive as a relationship problem, we automatically go to that either or way of thinking because that's all we've been introduced to most of our life. And when we use these problem-solving skills to manage polarity, and this is the critical point, we actually make things worse. On to part 3 of today's video. Balancing the necessary opposites in life. The most basic message of polarity management is simple. There is no one right answer. You may see a clear solution to a problem within your life, but that doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's somehow more legitimate. It's just your perspective. In many, if not most cases, when you believe something, the opposite is equally true. You may see extremely clearly that someone you love needs to change in some form of way. And that person may see stability just as vividly as you see change. The deepest wisdom and your potentially biggest contribution in his life is about holding both those perspectives, being able to hold them and to embrace them both at the same time. So I want to break this down and give you some examples, and then we're going to dive into how do you address this. Birds singing in the background. How do you address these polarities? How do you begin to use them and manage them rather than trying to waste time solving them? And so to break this down a little bit, I'm going to give you some examples. So we've mentioned it a few times: work-life balance. So work and life balance. Reality and faith. So whether that's a God, a universe, a higher power. Discipline and flexibility, spontaneity. Willingfulness and humility. Consistency and change. Thinking and feeling. And the last one, mainstream and alternative narratives. So to give you an idea, kind of spend some time, when you've got the workbook, spend some time writing some of the polarities that you're currently facing right now. Just begin to jot them down. What are your decisions? What are you stressing about? What is becoming seemingly unclear to you and even harder to make a decision on? If we don't begin to look at this, we'll start to see that one end of the spectrum must be right over the other, and we'll choose that. And we'll miss out on so much possibility and magic because of it. So on to part 4 of today's video, how to use polarity management for the problems in your life. We're really going to go through now workbook. So if you haven't already, get the workbook, download it, and we can kind of work along this together. Looking at the basic version of this, you're going to see that there's pole 1 on the left and pole 2 on the right. And above that, you'll see the hopes, and below that, you'll see the fears. And so ultimately, the very top of this thing is the higher purpose. What do we want out of this situation? And what are the deepest fears? So then when we flick on to the next one, you'll see that we can add action steps and we can add early warning signs. And so this is to help us map and plot when we are maybe losing the balance between our polarities. Okay, let's dive into a real example. I'm going to guide you through a real example that you can begin to use in your life. So this example is going to be the work-life balance or work-home balance, however you want to call it. Now, the higher purpose to this is about a sustained quality of life. The deepest fears about this, out of balance, is an empty life. So if we look at work to start with, the hopes about work that we enjoy. 1, it's about making a difference. It's about challenge, being stimulated, maybe about being respected, and about being well paid for it. These are just my examples made up for you, help you today in this video. Please fill in any examples that come up for you that are more relevant. Now, the hopes of a life balance: 1, it's about relaxed and being rejuvenated. It's about comfort, safety, strong family and relationships, and also play, the hobbies, doing the things that you love. Now, they're the hopes of those higher purpose, that, the balance between work and life. The deepest fears regarding those, if we look at work, maybe a messy house, feared about being stressed and tired, about poor physical, mental health setting in, fear about strained relationships or no time for hobbies or fun. And the fears about the life or home part being out of balance, maybe not making a difference, being frustrated, not learning or growing, not being respected at work, and less pay. So as you see there's just really simple way of breaking this down, like your hopes and your fears about both polarities, not about choosing one or the other, but it's about both. What are the hopes and what are the fears? That's step 1 is the hopes, step 2 are the fears. Now let's move on to action steps. So action steps to do with work, how can we develop that? So an action step would be to partner with a diverse resource to strengthen your work, team up with someone, work with someone. How can you reach out to people to help you grow? It could be learning new skills. It could be measuring outcomes. How do you know when you're going in the right direction? How do you know when what you're aiming for is being achieved? And it doesn't have to be complicated, and those outcomes really are specific to you, but begin to have a think about that. What is success in your eyes to do with work? Looking at the early warning signs to do with work, when we're getting out of balance with that, it could be that you're getting tired and irritable. It could be that you're unable to concentrate on family life. It could be that you forget things, forget commitments. It could be that your home life is stressed. Moving over to the life side, now the action steps will be to schedule time at home, to schedule date nights, to schedule family trips, and to schedule either new hobbies or to schedule the hobbies that you love into your life, to make sure that they're planned, that you're actually doing them within your life. Now, the early warning signs to do with life could be missed opportunities to grow or expand your work. It could be that money becomes tight. It could be that services are not growing or improving. And it could be that all of a sudden you're noticing that there's a lack of care. You're not really caring about your job or what you're doing, and other people may be noticing as well. So as you can see, it's hopefully you can see that it's a really simple tool. It just takes a little bit of time to sit down and to identify your polarities. What are the polarities that are showing up for you right now? In a relationship, it could be, okay, being vulnerable and being the dependent. You know, there's so many other ones that in the booklet, there are some more examples for you to dive into, but ones that you already know right now. And when you start to think about polarity management, you'll start to see them everywhere within your life. Kind of like if you think about your favorite, I don't know, bike or car or favorite food, you'll start to see it pop up everywhere. It's the same thing. Polarities will just begin to pop up everywhere for you. The final thing to mention about this is when you see in the middle, you've got the figure of 8, the pink figure of 8. And so say, for example, the early warning signs are that you're tired and irritable. You can begin to move across to the other side where you need to build in more relaxation time. You need to build in more time with your partner or your children or your friends, whatever it is. And it's this balance between you're constantly moving between all 4 poles, or the 2 poles, but the hopes and the fears. You're noticing when you're in the fears and when early warning signs, then you can pop back up the other side. And it's about that balance. It's not about being perfect. You'll notice that you lean one way to the other too much, and then you'll come across the other way. It's about self-correcting and about holding both. Now over to you. Has this been a helpful exercise? What have you got from it? What polarities are you managing yourself right now? Please comment below. I'd love to hear. And as I said before, there's a free PDF for you to use below. Just download them right away. And it's again a nice guided exercise for you to just do in your own time. As always, thank you so much for watching, and see you on another episode, hopefully a little bit cooler.